There is a section about prohibitive measures, and this isn't new necessarily. There are some added ones, but this isn't necessarily a new rule, though. These have always been prohibitive measures within our system. It's just now we're really taking a look at them and seeing what they mean. So prone restraint, a restraint anytime somebody is face down and being held into a restraint that could be on the floor or against the wall, that's prohibited. The use of restraint that has potential to restrict breathing or it's medically contraindicated. Use of a restraint that causes pain or harm. Disabling a person's communication device. Denial of breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, or beverages. Placing a person in a room with no light. And subjecting a person to damaging or painful sound. And so I know when you read through this list, you're like, gosh, like really, we got to put this in writing that we can't do this to people. And it kind of lends back to the part where Derek talked about the history of treatment of people with developmental disabilities that have derived from this list. And so I think about prohibitive measures. Wow, yes, it's terrible that we have to put it in writing that you can't do this to people, but it shows that we're starting to recognize that we know better, so we do better. We know differently, so we do differently. And so when we look at the rest of the prohibitive measures, one's application of electric shock to a person's body, subjecting a person to any humiliating or derogatory treatment, squirting a person with any substance as an inducement or consequence for behavior, and using any restrictive measure for punishment, retaliation, instruction, or teaching at the convenience of providers or as a substitute for specialized services. So that one has definitely has created some conversation. When we're talking about why are we doing a restrictive measure? Why is it that this is a restraint that's necessary? And kind of when Heidi talks about intent, what is the intent of the restrictive measure? And sometimes we have to talk about, is it for the convenience of the provider? Or is it that we're using it to teach somebody something instead of maybe thinking about it differently? And that traditional of taking away what the one thing that the person likes as a way to earn it back, to kind of mitigate some of that control over the person and more of seeing yourself as more of a support versus a control over the person's life.